Yo, what up guys, Old School Dane here, and in this video I want to talk about 3 exercises that will build you old school triceps. So before I get into the actual video, I want to share two things with you. So the first one being, I'm going to be making a video on Arnold's 5 power exercises to build you a powerful physique or something like that. Because I was reading, well I rather read it, but there's parts from Arnold's encyclopedia where he talks about power exercises, and there's parts in videos where he talks about it as well. People not doing them anymore. So I want to share that with you and sort of give you some more insight on how to build a really dense, powerful physique that actually has strength and size as well. So the second thing I want to share with you is that my course is actually going to include a ground 0 or even week 0, 0 to 4, because it's going to be a pretty lengthy course. So that way, it's going to be silver era, boot camp basically. You guys are gonna freaking love it. It's awesome. It's coming together really, really well. But it's gonna have that ground 0 where you start off from week 0, and we're gonna get you trained up and ready to transition into sort of that silver era training style. So cool. So anyways, I don't want to share too many details with you, but I'm just like super excited to share with you. I want to just do it. Anyways, let's go on with the video. See you there. All right, so here we go. Now, first thing I want to say is that the form is a little weird here, just because the angle I was filming from and the setup that I had when at that time wasn't very good, so I had to get myself in the frame, so that's why I couldn't come back even further when I think I should have definitely. But if I was in another gym, I would have done this a little bit differently, because some of those gyms have the what do you call it? Like it's like a bench against the wall, and you can actually sit against it. And I would have put my butt against that little bench part so I can sort of keep myself stable, but I had to use my foot here to keep myself stable. It was a little weird. But anyways, this exercise is for the sweep of your triceps. Have you ever seen Larry Scott when he does like a single arm bicep flex? And you see how it he's got the good lower biceps, and that's sort of his genetics. But he also had this really nice sweep, like a really thick sweep under his arm right near his elbows, and that's how he got this, because one of his favorite movements, or some of his favorite movements, and you guys already know that, is like the preacher curl, and the other one was one of these. Except his was done differently. His would be done on a bench. He would kneel down, put his elbows on this bench, and do an extension just like this. And that really isolates the triceps, because it keeps those elbows still. Just like I prefer to do the dumbbell curls against the preacher curl to keep my elbows super, super still. But yeah, this is a great movement for the sweep of your triceps. I always like to recommend a what do you call it? A overhead movement in your tricep staple, or arsenal. All right, so great for the sweep of your triceps. I always like to include this, and it's funny because when you look at, even when you see Arnold do a what do you call it, a single arm bicep flex, where he shows it's sort of like a 3/4 back pose, and he shows his arm, you can see he has a really nice sweep of the tricep too. And I think this is exactly how they do it, because when I started to, because I really I wanted that prominent look where it's like he's got that really nice sweep at the tricep, and it's got that nice bicep peak. And I was like, how did they do that? So Vince Serrano, being like the best, I think, at cosmetic bodybuilding ever, had figured this out. So then I studied Vince, and I started to apply this method, and I was like, wow, that sweep of my tricep is really, really coming in. I was like, I like this. And I've had clients who have come to me and say, dude, this is really working out. And I guarantee you that if you start doing this movement, I'd prefer you do it maybe kneeling down if you have the chance, like you have a bench, so you can keep the elbows really, really still. But if not, you can do it just like this, and that's pretty much fine. But I guarantee you will start to see results very, very quickly, because the muscle, I think it could develop pretty fast, because when I started doing it, it started to develop fast. So I think you'd see the same results, since I don't think a lot of people do this movement, or even the way Larry Scott does it. But anyways, with that being said, let's move on to the next exercise. All right, so the next exercise that I chose was it's not a skull crusher. You can call it a skull crusher, but the thing with skull crushers, the way it's performed is that you're bringing the bar down to your eyebrows and you come back up. I don't prefer my clients doing it that way, just because you missed out on some more muscle activation. Because if you do a full range of motion, like you go behind your head, you're able to stretch the triceps so much more, and then you get to engage more muscle fibers. More muscle fibers engage, more muscle building. Makes sense, right? So that's sort of the way I see a lot of people doing in the gym. They do skull crushers to the eyebrows, and then I'm like, oh, whatever, man, that's your thing. So I always prefer to do overhead, get a nice full stretch. And I know I made a video about the Bill Pearl method about triceps, where you do seven. They're called 21s. You do 7 to your forehead, 7 to behind your head, and I think it's 7 close to your bench. I think so. I can't even remember. I made that video like a long time ago. It was like maybe 2 3 years ago. I can't remember. But yeah, you can try that method out. It gives you a pretty nasty tricep pump. I think having a nasty tricep pump always makes you feel pretty jacked. But yeah, it's a great exercise because it hits all three head of the triceps. It's a very well-rounded movement, and it's something I would actually never ever really take out of my tricep routine. Maybe I'll substitute some other exercises to be in there, but I'll never really remove this one out of my routine. But I think if you have some bad elbows, I don't think it's the best movement for you. Just saying. But if you guys have any recommendations for someone who has bad elbows, drop a comment below. I'd be curious to hear what your thoughts are. Now I have some of my own, but I'd like to hear your own. So with that being said, let's move on to the last and final exercise. So the last exercise that I chose was the cable press down. The reason being is because I think it's a absolute staple for building triceps. And here's why. I read the Wild Physique a while back, and one of the exercises that he recommends, and one of the most prominent muscle groups features of classic triceps is that lateral head of the tricep. The one that really shows is the lateral head. You've seen Steve Reeves when he shows off that pose. It's like sort of a side chest slash showing off the lateral head of his tricep. Even Arnold does it as well when at the 1980 Mr. Olympia, when they said, I can't remember which pose they asked him to do, but he ended up throwing both his arms. I think it's called a mantis pose. I'm sorry. He throws up a mantis pose when he wasn't supposed to, and you can see the thickness of his triceps. So this exercise is pretty good for building that lateral head of the deltoid. I mean, not deltoid. It's like lateral head of the tricep. You can see it. You can see it's a very prominent muscle group in my triceps as well. And the way I was able to build that development, and this is my theory, and it's also Vince Gironda's teachings as well, that the way I learned it from Vince, and I don't know if it's the most practical way or safe way of doing it, but Vince has said if you really wanted to work the lateral head of the tricep, you would stick more of your elbows out. I'm sorry, Larry Scott. I learned that from Larry Scott, not Vince Gironda. But I'm pretty sure Larry Scott learned it from Vince Gironda, so therefore I did learn it from Vince Gironda. I'm sorry. You would stick your elbows out, sort of as far as you can, and bring a press down. That's the way. One time I saw Larry Scott do it. You guys should Google on YouTube, look up Larry Scott training, and you can see a few of the exercises that he's performing. He's doing preacher curl, reverse preacher curl, underhand wrist curl, tricep press downs, and you could see the way he's doing the tricep press down, where is that he has his elbows out all the way. Ow, I just hurt my elbow. And when you do it like that, you can really feel the lateral head of the tricep being isolated. Now I don't know how much percent of that is true. Just because some of Vince Gironda's exercises are a little funny sometimes, and some of his stuff I do take with a grain of salt, like doing squats over not doing squats at all. Some of that stuff I take with a grain of salt, but yeah, I think this is a great exercise for your triceps. I think these are all three staples that if I had to choose three like pretty much for the rest of my life, I would definitely have these in it. But again, if this was a top 5, it'd be completely different, guys. So I'm curious to hear what your thoughts are on, what are your 3 top tricep exercises? Drop a comment below. With that being said, guys, thank you so much for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this. Give this video a thumbs up. I'm Moscow Dan. I'm gone. Peace.